At the moment, it's really Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't know. What's your sense on that? We haven't talked about this in a while.
I think that Bitcoin is probably the only asset in the entire market that one has, institutional level liquidity, two has institutional safety in the sense of the regulatory environment and kind of there's no gotchas or potential risks of recharacterization or categorization on the horizon. And then the third thing, and actually probably one of the most important things, is it's the only asset where there is a strong held belief both within the community, but also even among critics that the monetary policy will remain unchanged, right? And so I do think that we spend a lot of time in kind of the Bitcoin or crypto world with the infighting and everyone's throwing mud at each other and the whole thing. Sometimes it's hilarious, other times it's probably a waste of time and energy. But one of the things that often goes untalked about, or at least not kind of shine a light on as much as it should, is that Bitcoin's monetary policy is fixed. And so critics will say, hey, it's fixed, that's a bad thing, right? And proponents will say it's fixed, that's a good thing. But I think there's agreement between both the critics and the proponents that that fixed monetary policy is a thing and it will remain fixed. When you look at Ethereum and most other assets, there is some level of a variable monetary policy. And so again, I think everyone agrees, right? The critics and the proponents like, hey, the monetary policy is fixed. So it's almost like if there's agreement between critics and proponents that one is fixed and one is variable, then you really have to ask yourself, like, what do I believe is the more valuable thing over the long run for the specific investment case that I'm trying to make as to which asset to allocate to, et cetera. Now, the dirty secret, and one that I think you have done a great job highlighting, is like, forget your personal opinion, forget my personal opinion. When institutions show up, like most of them are not stock pickers, right? They're not like, oh, you know what? Let me go pick this one stock or this one, crypto asset or this one, piece of real estate, and I'm going to hang my hat on that. They tend to just buy the market, right? And they try to just get exposure. And so if you're only putting 1% of your assets into an industry, you kind of want some diversified exposure. And so they're going to buy, Bitcoin, Ether, and whatever else that they decide to put in that basket. And so I think that there is a dislocation maybe between, the people who are in this every single day and their very strong held tribal beliefs in a certain asset versus the institutions show up and they're like, all right, well, like, all you guys are fighting with each other. Like, that seems crazy. I just want like crypto exposure, right? And so I think, the Bitcoin community argues and says, hey, if we educate them further, then they'll kind of, see the orange light and they'll just buy Bitcoin and just hold that. I've talked to a lot of these institutions and they're like, look, even if I 100% believe what you're saying and everything with Bitcoin is, what it's kind of promised, there's these other assets that, for better or worse, some of them work, some of them don't. And we just want, kind of beta exposure because this whole industry is so asymmetric compared to fixed income or, even the stock market, that anything that happens in this industry that's positive will be a, kind of outlier performance for us. And it'll help our annual returns, which ultimately is, what they're trying to drive towards.